Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman. If you're joining us for the first time today, welcome aboard, and if you've been a loyal listener, welcome back. We have much to get to today and not a lot of time to do it. So we have 5 sections that we'll get into: a general overview of the NBA this week, and then our usual highlight, lowlight, random stat, and game of the week. Let's get to our content for the week. Although we just mentioned the James Harden saga on the last episode, it finally happened. James Harden has been traded to the LA Clippers. The 76ers sent the Beard to his birthplace along with PJ Tucker and Filip Petrusev in exchange for Marcus Morris Sr., Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a first-round pick swap. Petrusev was then traded to Sacramento along with cash for the draft rights to Luka Mitrovic. This will pair Harden with Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. And if you look at it, it's a win-win for both sides. The Sixers get Harden out of the locker room, and the Clippers get another star to add to their roster. But the Clippers' injury history and playoff history becomes even more questionable. We've seen with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George how the injuries have affected them. Russell Westbrook and Harden, playoff history-wise, haven't been the greatest over the course of their careers. Same with Paul George. We know the whole way off P story from a few years ago. So there are concerns here, but if it does work out, this team could be a true contender in the Western Conference. And as you may know, James Harden is a free agent after this season because, remember, he has that player option he accepted this past summer in order to get out of Philadelphia. So he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. Finally, the NBA's brand new in-season tournament began on Friday, November 3rd. On Tuesdays and Fridays from November 3rd through 28th, with the exception of Election Day, each team will play an opponent in their group. The tournament will wrap up in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena on Saturday, December 9th. To be fair, I thought the implementation of the play-in tournament a few years ago was dumb, but it's made for some pretty interesting games. In my opinion, the in-season tournament idea is just dumb. The play-in gives more teams a chance for a playoff berth. I don't think one player will care if they win the in-season tournament. So I went on the NBA's website, and I'm going to read verbatim of how they describe each thing happening because it gets a little complicated. I remember over the summer they released a video, I think it was Richard Jefferson, explaining how the in-season tournament would work, but it does get complicated sometimes. So I'm reading from the NBA's website verbatim. So here's how group play will work. All 30 teams have been randomly drawn into groups of 5 within their conference based on win-loss records from the 2022-23 regular season. Beginning November 3rd and continuing through Tuesday, November 28th, each team will play 4 designated group play games on tournament nights. 1 game against each opponent in its group, with 2 games at home and 2 on the road. So that's the first section. The other stage is the knockout rounds, and this is verbatim. 8 teams will advance to the knockout rounds. The team with the best standing in group play games in each of the 6 groups and 2 wild cards, the team from each conference with the best record in group play games that finished second in its group. The knockout rounds will be single elimination games in the quarterfinals played in NBA team markets on Monday, December 4th and Tuesday the 5th. Semifinals and championship. The qualifying teams will compete for a prize pool and the new in-season tournament trophy, the NBA Cup. All 67 games across both stages of the in-season tournament will count toward the regular season standings except for the championship. Each team will continue to play 82 regular season games in the 2023-24 season, including those games that are part of group play in the knockout rounds, end quote. So here are the groups that the NBA put together based on the season standings last year. So let's start with the Western Conference. So in Group A, we have the Memphis Grizzlies, Phoenix Suns, LA Lakers, Utah Jazz, and Portland Trailblazers. Group B, Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, Dallas Mavericks, and Houston Rockets. And the Group C includes the Sacramento Kings, Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the San Antonio Spurs. Then for the Eastern Conference, Group A, the Philadelphia 76ers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, and the Detroit Pistons. Group B, Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, Miami Heat, Washington Wizards, and Charlotte Hornets. And Group C is the Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, and the Orlando Magic. So a lot of movement going on here with this in-season tournament. I was seeing some of the games over the weekend, and the courts, a little bit of an eyesore with how intense the colors were on those courts. But I just think this is a really dumb idea. Again, unless you get a playoff berth or a top draft pick. Here's a quote I found from Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers, and here's what he has to say about this. Quote, I think the greatest incentive for everybody to do it would be an automatic playoff bid. If it was a playoff spot, I think everyone would take it very, very serious, right? I think the older teams would take it serious, end quote. So if the players don't care, should the fans care? This episode is entitled The Road to Dominance. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? So let's get to our highlight for the week. The Boston Celtics are winning games. Why am I not surprised? So far this season, Boston is 5-0 and the only undefeated team left in the NBA. Like we mentioned in the Power Rankings predictions a few weeks ago, Boston swung for the fences this offseason by acquiring Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. Porzingis is a 7'3" big man who can stretch the floor well beyond the three-point line. After spending a couple of seasons in Milwaukee, Holiday will come in handy on defense, and he's a good floor general. And who can forget the dynamic duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Tatum is averaging 30.2 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 3.4 assists per game in 2023. Meanwhile, Brown is giving Boston 22.6 points, 6 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1.2 steals per contest. Head coach Joe Mazzulla is in his second year at the helm of the Celtics. Remember, he took them to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Miami last season. Besides the Bucks, Boston is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I just think their firepower might be too overwhelming for anyone to beat. And I don't think that's going to go away for a while. The Celtics' next game is in Minnesota tonight, Monday, November 6th at 8 p.m. Now let's go to our low light, the Memphis Grizzlies. Ever since Ja Morant told reporter Taylor Rooks, "I'm fine in the West," last season, referring to him not being afraid of any team in his own conference, the Memphis Grizzlies have turned into Cubs. The 7th-seeded Lakers bounced the 2nd-seeded Grizzlies in the first round in 6 games. Memphis is 1-6 to start this season after losing 6 straight. Tyus Jones and Dylan Brooks are on different teams this year. Steven Adams is out for the season after PCL surgery, and Morant's 25-game suspension for his Instagram Live controversies certainly aren't helping matters. While Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. are still here, the Grizzlies brought in former Celtic and Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart. Both Bane and Smart are averaging career highs in points and steals per game. Smart is giving them 14 points and 2.7 steals per night, while Bane is giving Memphis 26.6 points and 2 steals per contest. Once Memphis gets Morant back, I'm sure the wins will pile up again. However, Having your superstar miss nearly a third of the season because of dumb mistakes isn't something that the front office and fans are going to want to see. And in terms of recruiting, not many free agents want to go to Memphis. It's just not a popular free agent destination. And I also found this fact about the Grizzlies that is just really interesting in a way. So, same but different, well, maybe not. Tony Allen and Marcus Smart share some eerily similar career milestones. Both went to Oklahoma State. Both were first-round picks by the Boston Celtics. Both left Boston at the age of 29 and moved to the Grizzlies. Both have had that first-team all-defense mentality and have 3 first-team inclusions to show for. Just a little fun fact I found courtesy of Clutch Points. That's actually one of the positive things about the Grizzlies right now, but the rest of it, not so much. So Memphis will be looking for their second win on Wednesday, November 8th at 8 o'clock when they host the Miami Heat. Now let's go to random stat. Every year a team goes into the offseason with choices to be made. Do they need to make trades? Sign new players? How about hire a new head coach? 6 of the 30 NBA teams, or 1/5 of them, did the third option this offseason. The Philadelphia 76ers, Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Toronto Raptors, Phoenix Suns, and the Houston Rockets. Respectively, the men in charge are Nick Nurse, Adrian Griffin, Monty Williams, Darko Rajakovic, Frank Vogel, and Ime Udoka. Nurse and Griffin were the head coach and assistant coach, respectively, for Toronto the last few years. Williams was recently released as the head coach of the Suns. Rajakovic was an assistant in Memphis. Vogel was the head coach of the Lakers before getting fired. And Udoka had that one great year in Boston before that scandal caught up with him. The Sixers, Bucks, and Suns are teams I expect to be contenders this season. The Pistons, Raptors, and Rockets might need a little more time for their players to grow in order to be taken seriously as contenders. Regardless, these 6 squads needed a new voice in the locker room, and that's exactly what they got. Now let's go to Game of the Week. My choice this week is the New Orleans Pelicans at Denver Nuggets, which is going to be tonight, Monday, November 6th at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This will be a battle of Zion Williamson versus Nikola Jokic. Both teams are toward the top of the Western Conference, and I have no doubt that they'll stay there as the playoffs get closer in the spring. Now, I know we just started the season, pump the brakes, Larry, but I'm just saying, as the playoffs get closer, those two should be at the top of the West. Even though Denver had the top seed in the West last year, New Orleans had the top seed for a hot minute, if you remember, until Zion went down with injury. Both teams have dominant big men, and both have shooters lighting it up on the perimeter. Unfortunately for the Pelicans, it looks like CJ McCollum will be out for a little bit with a collapsed lung. We hope he is okay. The Nuggets and Pelicans split the regular season series last year, and 3 of the 4 games were decided by 1 point. The other one, 2 points. So my choice, I'll take the Denver Nuggets, 112-107. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on social media. I have 2 Twitter accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. The podcast accounts are under @Diehlman_NBA for both Twitter and Instagram. My personal Twitter is @LarryDiehlman18, and my personal Instagram is @Mr_Sports18. They are also in the description to the right on my SoundCloud page. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.